Battle of Amiens, also known as the Third Battle of Picardy, one of the most important battles fought during the World War I. It was fought on 8 August 1918, Amiens, Picardy, France. It was an offensive led by the Allies and was the beginning of the last months of the war, also known as the Hundred Days Offensive. This attack was led by Ferdinand Foch, the Marshal of France, Douglas Haig, the General of British Army, Henry Rawlinson, whose Fourth Army played the decisive role for the Allies. General Erich Ludendorff led the army for Germany. Allies used a strategy known as all-arms attack, where they used smoke to camouflage the infantry carrying the light machine guns and grenades. Later came heavy machine guns and mortars for attacking. Tanks were used to destroy the obstacles and barbed wires. Artillery protected and avoided the advancing soldiers from getting shot. Aircrafts guided the infantry's, tanks, and artilleries to their targets, and also bombed the trenches and shot down soldiers whenever possible. Poisonous gases were used to injure the German soldiers. Later, the supply tanks followed, providing ammunition and supplies to keep the attack moving. All these arms were well corresponded. This caused the Allies to advance 11 kilometers on the first day itself. There was about over 100,000 casualties together from both sides. Germany lost 75,000 of its soldiers, out of which 50,000 were prisoners. Allies lost around 44,000, 22,000 of which were BF's forces and 22,000 were French army. Allies had armies coordinated of Britain, France, Australia, Canada, and USA. This was the first attack by the Allies where many strategies and weapons were used. It was a reason German army was surprised with the offensive. Later, it was said by Erich Ludendorff that day he realized that Germany could not win the war, calling it the Black Day for German army. The battle was very successful for the Allies because not only did they win the battle but captured over 400,000 prisoners, 7,000 heavy guns, and broke through the German trench system. However, Germany had lost a lot of its soldiers and was finding it hard to get replacements. The army and country were already suffering from Allied naval blockade, because of which Germany could not get the supplies for warfare and food. This was another reason why it was hard to find replacements, since many died of starvation. The army was also weakening since there was not enough food and supplies. Also, the strategies used by Allies caused them to play the defensive role, causing them not to advance much during the last months of the war. This is why the Battle of Amiens played an important part ending the war. It was also the battle that could have helped Germany win the war. This was because if Germans had control over Amiens, then they could have had the railway junctions and routes of Amiens. Since it was a very strategic place, this would have helped Germany get Calais and later England. This would have been a huge advantage for Germany since British Navy was strong. It would have been easy for them to solve the blockade problem. It would have been beneficial as well because Britain was one of the strong allies. After the battle, the war was still mobile. However, Central Powers were beginning to leave the war. Bulgaria left in September, Ottoman Empire left in October, and Austria-Hungary in November. This made it hard for Germany to continue fighting, and that is why it signed an armistice on November 11th at 11 o'clock with the Allies, of an agreement that there would be no more fighting on the Western Front, and later signing the Treaty of Versailles, declaring the end of war. However, Germans were hesitant to sign the Treaty of Versailles since the points in the treaty were not the ones they agreed on. However, since Germany had lost the war and they did not have enough army or soldiers to declare another war, they hesitantly signed on the Treaty of Versailles. They had to give reparations for the damage they had done to France, Britain, and also admit that it was them who caused the World War I and it was all their fault that so many soldiers had died. The Treaty of Versailles was signed on 28 June 1918, 5 years later that Franz Ferdinand was assassinated. After this, the World War ended and there were no more battles fought between the Allies and Central Powers for another 2 decades. And Europe was again at peace